Hey there, you wonderful listeners. I have a question for you. Do you want to make a podcast? Well, Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily and then distribute it everywhere and even earn money all in one place and for free. How can you beat that? It's called Spotify for Podcasters. And here is how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. And when you want to take conversations with your fans to the next level, there are Q&A and poll options available, and those are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since I've discovered Spotify for Podcasters, it has made doing my shows like the Steam Machine Podcast, Yabs Pod, and the JRPG Report much, much easier to do. Like being able to just go on there, record them, upload it, boom, it's done. I don't have to pay for a site service to host or anything like that. It's fantastic. So I highly recommend that you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started today. Hey everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton, and joining me this week is my good buddy.
Yo, what's up? It's time for Doom! Oh, I'm Willie, hi.
It is time for some doom and gloom, my good sir. Happy fucking spooky October season, whatever the kids call it these days.
Yeah, so it's Spooktober, it is spooky season, it is, I don't know, sweater weather. I think that's a different thing, but it's not sweater weather. It was 77 degrees today. I wore this hoodie all day, and I was like, I want it to be crisp and autumnal, but it is not yet.
Yeah, I think it was like 82 here with like a real feel of 87, 88. It was not fun. Yeah. Although like 2 or 3 nights ago, it was 60 degrees outside at night. So I don't understand what the hell Florida's doing right now.
I rarely do.
I feel like the world doesn't. It's always the brunt of the joke of the country is, oh, Florida, man. But it's because, dude, I have stories that make Florida man stories just look dumb because they are. But I mean, that's not the point. One day, I'll share more stories of things that I've been through that some of them are wild, and I think it's only in Florida. Anyway,
the Florida Man Extended Universe. Sorry, that came in at a weird time. My Discord's kind of breaking up a little today, so I'm kind of getting messages a little compressed and spread out for every now and then. So sorry if my timing is a little off.
I'll fix it in post if anything.
There shouldn't be much to fix. Oh, I'm sorry. This is shop talk. Let's get on with it.
Let's see. Oh, first and foremost, I want to thank all of our lovely Patreons for supporting the show with a big shout out to Nate Sir Cogsworth of the 7th of June Ipper.
Nice.
I would
thank
like
you,
to
Nate.
thank old Jeffy Lube, Jeff himself. I would like to thank
thank you, Jeff.
Aries or Adam.
That's Aries or Adam.
Aries or Adam, yes. And I would like to thank New Edition DC Smokedown. We do.
Thank you. We appreciate you joining in.
Appreciate you very much. You guys keep the cogs rolling. That's why you were called the cogs. You keep them moving, and we appreciate it.
Welcome to the machine.
Yeah. Oh, what a good fucking song. God, what a good song.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. What do I have up first? Oh, good sir. Good sir. What the fuck is up with social media bots? So, at least
I know that I almost worded that like a dirty Seinfeld joke, but what's the deal with these
What's the deal?
fucking social media bots? I mean, come on. But I've been getting like at least 10 a day of these friend requests from these obviously fake profiles that are like these stunningly beautiful women who I don't even click on their profiles anymore, because if you do, you click on it and their bio is like, I don't use this much. Come chat with me on fuckmytitties.com or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh my God. And there's so many of them. But I have discovered a good pastime, and it is clicking on these profiles and looking to see what friends of mine have added them.
Oh, do you know a couple of whales? Some big suckers?
I know more than a couple, apparently. Like, which leads me to another thing that I've found out on Facebook is like, I can look at someone's Facebook profile picture and I can tell if they should have a social media account or not. Like, you know how like people who know how to pose for a photo, and then there's the people who are looking at their phone like they're not sure if it took a picture or not. It's like those dudes are the ones that I always see that add these fucking profiles, and I just know that like they're clicking it, and then I can like, no doubt in my mind, click their profile and go in, and I'll see where this dude's posted, don't open the messages you're getting, it's not me, I got hacked. And I'm like, yeah, it's because you clicked on that profile from titsmcgee.com who like fished all your info, bro. Like, come on. Oh man, fucking boomers.
Hey man, sometimes you just get hacked by love.
Oh man, that should be like a horror movie. Hacked by love.
Hacked by love? Yeah, and then like hacked has like a little machete sticking out of it in the logo. It's like a double entendre, but a really obvious one.
Loved has like the D has like the oh god, the gender things, the what are they?
Oh yeah,
the Austin Powers necklace. That's all I can think of is the fucking those symbols. I don't know what they're called.
The little linked like Mars and Venus.
Yes, Mars and Venus. Thank you. God damn. Oh, I couldn't think of that. Yes, those. I think that would be cool. Yeah, we're trademark Steam Machine Podcast.
We pitch way too much stuff on this show.
All pitch, no bitch. Yeah.
More like all pitch, no hits.
Oh my goodness. I want to ask you about...
No, I don't want to think about baseball. Sorry about that.
I want to ask you about some of your Doom stuff, but before I do, good sir, Black Desert Online. I did some shit this week. So I've been playing the season. So the season is limited to a couple months. And once the season's over, your character that you did for a season character transfers over to the normal, like kind of like if you've played Diablo 3, how their season thing kind of works, where you can then use it on normal servers after the season is over. And I've gotten to level 58, and dude, the grinding in BDO is no fucking joke. Like, I think to get to level 6 from 59 to 60 is like a few billion experience. Like, it's some insane amount. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So to explain what I did and why I did it, the season has like almost... I call them season quests, but it's almost like a battle pass. It has these certain criteria that they want you to meet as you go through.
Okay.
So I'm stuck on this one that I have to fight a creature summoned from the Rift Echo. And if I look past that one, I have done so many of these other quests that as soon as this thing's done, I'm going to get credit for like 7 more, right? So nice. I needed a Rift Echo. And I was like, well, how do I get one of those? This guy in my guild's like, oh, open your quest log, go to recurring, and where it says weekly, click the little button and run to that guy, get the weekly quest. And just do that. And I was like, oh, that should be easy. So I went and I got the weekly quest to kill 5,000 bandits. And I was like...
Never should have come here.
Like, holy shit, that's a lot, dude. So I had just been fighting these bandits for a few quests before that, so I knew where they were at. And I knew of this gully. It's like this long little stretch between these two mountains, and there's about 100 dudes between the two ends of it. And I just went there and ran back and forth and just killed them over and over and over and over and over. And yeah, it took me like a few hours last night, and then I think like 4 or 5 hours today, but I knocked it out. maybe not 4 or 5 hours, more like 2 or 3 today. But yeah, it would have went a lot quicker if there weren't other people also having this quest and having to kill these things. So like you're fighting for mobs and stuff sometimes, and yeah.
I just get this impression of you and like 2 other people like linking arms, running down a supermarket like shopping aisle with your other arm extended, just knocking everything off the aisle.
Pretty much, just like just knock it and then wait for him to restock it so we can go through and do it again.
Man, that sounds fun. I haven't watched the rebooted Supermarket Sweep yet.
Oh man, it's just extreme guys grocery games. Oh man,
Guys grocery games for keeps.
but other than Doom, like that's what I've been up to, and I did play a little bit more of Trails in the Sky, but that's for next week. So sir, I do believe that you have been fucking with some of the older Dooms as well, so I would like to hear about some of that.
Yeah, so I've had some you have frustrations with games like this and a lot of games in general. And so one thing I've been doing is alternating by going back to that thing I was doing a couple of weeks ago where I was trying to finish every level of the original Doom on ultra-violence difficulty with fast monsters enabled, pistol starting every level. And I had been stuck for a while on episode 2, map 6, because it's just you don't get a lot of ammo in that level, so you have to punch a lot of stuff, and with the fast monsters on pinkies and other melee monsters move 3 times as fast as they normally do. So you literally have to berserk them right. You basically have to wait until they run up at you and click the punch button, and like 1 tick later hit the back button, so you hit them before they bite you.
Oh, okay.
And like it takes anywhere from like 1 to 4 punches usually for a berserk fist to knock these guys out. So, and if they hit you, it's gonna mess up your time, and you're gonna get backed way up. And if you get backed all the way up in the corner, they're just gonna stun lock you. You're done. I mean, not literally stun lock, but they'll be on top of you so fast that by the time you get them back into hit stun, they'll have killed you usually. So I had to deal with that. I had to deal with just a lot of enemy hit points overall and not a lot of firepower. But I found a route that lets me get better ammo and weapons. Eventually finished that off. Got through the rest of episode 2. Now I'm all the way up to episode 3, map 7, which is the second to last level in the original Doom, not counting the Ultimate Doom's final episode. So it's been going really well. I had a lot of struggle with episode 3, map 4, which also actually the whole first half of episode 3 starts you off with usually with pinky demons, which are the fast melee monsters, looking straight at you and just running up and chomping you at the very start of the level. So you have to figure out a way to deal with that in each level, and it's pretty rough, but I'm almost through it now. Episode 3 map 7 is my least favorite level in the game, so I died once and said I'd go do something else, but I'm having fun. I'll probably have that finished in probably tomorrow. I don't know.
That's what counts, man, is if you're having fun.
I'm having fun. It's Doom is a game that I don't feel bad about dying over and over and over again. Like when I streamed it when we were doing the episode Doom 2, I had fast monsters on and pistol starts for Doom 2 on levels I'm way less familiar with than Doom 1 levels, and I just died 50 times in a row on refueling base, and I was loving every second of it.
Yeah, I try not to let deaths bother me too much in shooters, especially fast-paced ones.
It only gets me down in some of these Doom 1 maps because some of them are very long. Episode 3 map 4, House of Pain. I had 2 runs where I was over 15 minutes in before I died.
Ooh.
And it's just that feels like a long time to not win.
It just clicked in my head all these times that I've seen you put E3 M4, that's what that means, this episode 3 map 4.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's the Doom 1, the way Doom 1 maps are written is E3 M4, whatever. Then Doom 2 and most of the other ones is just map and then the number, map 01, map 32.
Okay.
Old Doom nerd shit. Speaking of Doom nerd shit, I know he didn't get to be a main character, but I'm happy that they put a Doom guy costume in for the Mii Fighter in Super Smash Bros. As the last character they're going to add as a Mii Fighter.
Oh, they did? I thought you were joking about that.
No, they made a Mii Fighter. He's the gunner type, which is the one that has the charge beam, kind of like Samus does in Smash Bros. And he's pretty cool. I mean, he's kind of chibi looking compared to the normal Doomslayer's model, because the Miis are kind of little cartoon guys. But it's a full suit of armor and all that. The weapon looks like the pistol from Doom 4, I think. And I don't know. I thought it was pretty
badass, dude. That's badass. And they announced Sora from Kingdom Hearts as well, right?
Yeah, that's one I honestly had completely figured wasn't going to happen, because I thought it was just so improbable with all the getting together the lawyers from Nintendo, Square Enix, and Disney to pound something out, especially when Square Enix had been kind of famously hard to work with twice in the course of this game already. Like, I figured, there's no way they'll go for that. And then they did it, and I had already completely decided he's not going to be in the game, so when it did happen, I'm like, oh, like, he wasn't a character I wanted, but I was too impressed to be disappointed. And the people that love him, you know, they're really happy, so I'm happy for
I would
fans.
play as him, because I fucking love Kingdom Hearts.
I never got into Kingdom Hearts, and I was confused that he was so popular, too, because I thought the elevator pitch of Kingdom Hearts was, it's like Final Fantasy crossed with Disney, and he's neither a true Final Fantasy character, nor does he use any of the Disney stuff in this game. Like, he doesn't show up next to Mickey or Goofy and Donald or anything like that. He has, it's all Kingdom Hearts related stuff. It's, you know, Keyblade.
It is definitely, it's evolved since the first game, for sure.
That makes sense. I haven't really kept my eyes on it. It was a franchise I missed when it started, and it seemed like a lot to get into.
It is, and dude, every bit of Kingdom Hearts games that have been released are all canon and part of, like, an integral part of the story, including the mobile game. To the point that they, I think they closed down the servers for the mobile game for playing online, but they left it up where you can play solo so people won't miss out on that part of the story.
Also, I love that the deeper into the lore the Kingdom Hearts games get, the stupider the subtitles do. Because, man, those games have some weird, complicated names.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 were good. But, like, I played, I believe it's Birth by Sleep, which is the one where you play as the three people that came before Sora and all of them. Ventus, Aqua, and I don't remember Big Buff Dude's name. But he looked straight out of a Final Fantasy game. But Ventus and Aqua like was a very popular character to the point that she was like a big part of 2.9, which came out before 3, like right before 3. There's a lot. It's if you ever looked up videos on people trying to explain what the fuck is going on in Kingdom Hearts, by the end of it they've pulled out all of their hair.
I believe it. Like, from what I understand, there's so much lore, and it's consistent, canonical-based lore that, like, at least with people that are trying to piece together the Zelda timeline, most things don't happen in every game. Whereas in Kingdom Hearts, anything that happened in one game has happened everywhere.
Yeah, it's a big congruent world so far. I think that they just announced at some thing that maybe that there's, like, talks of Kingdom Hearts 4 is in development or something, which that would be cool. But we'll see.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Oh, yeah, I was just saying, I think that somewhere, I think I saw where they were talking about maybe that Kingdom Hearts 4 is in development, or like there's talks of it's going to be a thing, so interesting.
I did see that in addition to the game announcements, or the character announcement, they are going to be bringing the main trilogy of Kingdom Hearts games to the Switch as cloud gaming games, so if you feel good about Switch cloud gaming, there you go.
Oh yeah, that's what's up. You know, I acquired Kingdom Hearts 3 for PC, and I never did install it and load it up. I need to, though, because I want to see how good it looks, because that game made my fucking PlayStation 4 sweat, because I didn't have a Pro. I just had a regular-ass PlayStation 4, and it wasn't even in a good resolution. It was on this TV that I'm looking at you on right now, and it's just like, it's not a great resolution, whereas like my monitor over here is 2K, so it at least will be that. And
yeah.
Because that game's really pretty. If there's one thing about Kingdom Hearts 3, I know people had their qualms with it. I personally really enjoyed it. It's fucking gorgeous.
I just said that you put me on the low-res monitor, man. I know I'm ugly, but
Jesus.
Yeesh. Got him.
You know what's funny is I probably should put this over here and my notes over here, because the camera's here on my monitor, but I'm actually looking over here when I talk to you, but I don't know.
I do the same thing. I'm looking off to the side because my main screen's where I have the video, so I'm looking at your image while I'm talking, which makes me look like I'm not making eye contact. Then I'm looking at the notes, I'm looking like I'm looking at you.
Oh, man. So, sir.
It's a good thing this isn't a visual podcast, man. We would be a wreck trying to stream this on Twitch with both of our dumb faces. All three of our dumb faces. Maybe four.
Me and Ryan tried the whole doing the video version on YouTube, and after like 3 weeks of me putting it up and the views were like 6, 4, 2 and stuff like that, I was just like, oh, this is not worth the effort. Sorry, YouTube.
Yeah, if you're planning to do literally any editing whatsoever, especially.
Yeah, it was a pain because it was like Ryan was editing the video, like he was in charge of the video, and whenever it was finished, he would send it to me, and I would just upload it. Well, then his work picked up, so it became I had to edit the video, and it very quickly became I'm just going to edit the podcast and fuck the video.
Yeah, I mean it's the show's not called the Steam Machine YouTube.
It's true. It's called the Steam Machine Podcast. Hey, he said it. Anyway.
That's the title drop. That's the end of the episode. Thanks, everybody. We'll play Doom 2 or Doom 3 next week.
Cue the music. Oh, man. Speaking of the show, though, I do believe that we have a segment that we should go ahead and dive into. Unless there's anything else you'd like to touch on.
That's a good idea.
All right. Then it's as I lovingly refer to it as O-dubs, the obligatory Wikipedia bullshit. Doom 3, which, clarification, we played BFG, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yes.
Doom 3, stylized as Doom Squared, is...
Cubed.
It is cubed. God damn it. You're right. And you know what? I looked at that and was like, don't fuck this up, Dalton, because that's one of those... I fucked it up. Yeah, Doom Cubed.
I don't like correcting you. I just don't want to get
Please
emails.
Correct me. You'll be nicer about it than people like, you fucking idiot. Fucking thought it was squared, but it's cubed. Fucking go eat a steak, fat boy. They don't even know I'm fat. They can just hear it in my voice.
I feel like go eat a steak is the nicest fat criticism I could possibly get.
I don't know why that's what came out. Like, maybe it's because there was a bunch of vegetarians in the last X-Files episode I watched. I don't know. Doom...
Oh, I think I know the episode you're talking about. That's classic, man.
Doom 3 is a 2004 survival horror first-person shooter video game developed by id Software and published by Activision. Doom 3 was originally released for Microsoft Windows on August 3rd, 2004, and adapted for Linux later that year, ported by Asper Media for Mac operating system in 2005. Developer Vicarious Visions ported the game to Xbox, releasing it April 3rd, 2005. That was how I first played this game. It was OG Doom 3 on Xbox. So I want to throw that out there before we go any further in the episode. Doom 3 is set on Mars in 2145, where military-industrial conglomerate has set up a scientific research facility into fields such as teleportation, biological research, and advanced weapon design. The teleportation experiments open a gateway to hell, shocker, resulting in a catastrophic invasion of the Mars base by demons. The player controls a space marine who fights through the base to stop the demons attacking Mars and reaching Earth. This was considered the first reboot of the Doom series. Obviously, It didn't do very well because the next Doom game was another reboot of the Doom series.
Yeah.
Although Doom 3 was a critical and commercial success with more than 3.5 million copies of the game sold, making it the most successful game by developer id Software to date. I do not know when the last time this Wikipedia article was edited. I have to think that Doom Eternal probably sold more than that, but I could be wrong.
I also wouldn't be surprised if you went by total installs and not just sales. Like, it was famously said that shareware Doom was installed on more computers than Windows at one point in 1999 or 1994.
That's impressive. The game was followed by a Resurrection of Evil, which was an expansion pack developed by Nerve Software in April of 2005. A series of novelizations of Doom 3 written by Matthew J. Costello debuted in February 2008, which I find interesting. I wonder how a novelization of a Doom game would go.
I mean, pretty hilarious if you're talking about the novelizations of the original Doom, because Knee Deep in the Dead and the sequels to that ended up being kind of loco.
I can imagine. I'll have to check those out because I didn't know those existed.
I wouldn't say you have to check them out, but as a novelty, it might be worth reading up on them just for a laugh.
An expanded and remastered edition titled Doom 3 BFG Edition, which is what we played.
Which is the version we've played for this episode.
Was released in the fourth quarter of 2012, while a version based on BFG was released without online multiplayer, simply called Doom 3, for Android in 2015. And Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One in 2019. And I believe that's when they added... it might have not been 2019, but recently they added VR to Doom 3, didn't they? Like Oculus Rift?
I believe so, yeah.
That, I can imagine now that would probably be intense.
Yeah, I kind of... If it didn't come up on the show, I wanted my first time playing Doom 3 to be in VR, because I thought that'd be a good way to do it. Although I could see it having issues as well, which we'll probably talk about later.
Yeah. Do you want to get into the changes between the two versions right now, or save those or for after we kind of give our thoughts about it?
I mean, I feel like the changes to the game are going to be things that aren't going to be super important to talk about gameplay-wise until we get to the end. The main thing you need to know is that BFG was a response to a lot of criticism of the original game from like older fans of the Doom games. So they kind of did some things to make it a little bit, I wouldn't say necessarily arcadier, but they did kind of make it more, maybe you could say combat forward. Like the main change, and we can get to the others later, but is that you can now use your flashlight at the same time as you use a weapon, which was a huge controversial criticism of the original game. Everyone called the game too dark when it came out.
Yeah, it was super dark back in the day. And I remember playing it. I don't remember the flashlight not being on my gun or mounted on my shoulder or whatever being an issue. That's me personally, though. And what's funny is in my Steam library, I have Doom 3 and BFG. And I should play the original and see if I can notice any of the differences. But I'm going to go ahead and throw out I have less written down because, fair warning, I did not finish this game. Unfortunately, there was something about this game that gave me a really fucking bad headache when I was playing it. And it would frustrate me because it was like I had a headache and I would get lost. And because my head hurt, I couldn't think straight to figure out where I was going. It was rough. But I did try to get it as far as I could. But if Doom 3 does anything right, it's being creepy. Like, I think the game did a really good job of being creepy. The background ambience makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. You know what I mean? It's really anxiety inducing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things I noted was that the sound in this game, like, as you're just going through levels, is really cool. Like, there's all kinds of... You're in this Martian base. It's like advanced technological study. So there's all kinds of crazy like machinery whirring and pumping away. So you can never really tell if the sound you hear is like steam being released from a coolant vent or if it's something whispering right at you. And then there are other voices that actually are whispers and you don't know where they're coming from or who it is. There's, stomping sounds. It might be doors closing. It might just be a machine slamming shut. It could be, it could be a scary demon coming up to get you. You hear chatter. Maybe it's on your radio. Maybe it's just a zombie kind of making noise, Like, there's a lot to be said for, like, there's a disorienting amount of sound in this game. And I think that really, I think it helps it with the... It overwhelms you to where you don't know what to focus on, and that leaves you on edge in a way that I think was intended and successful.
One thing I didn't like was you had no ability to look down your barrel, like you couldn't shoulder your gun and look down the iron sights, which, I mean, that's a small nitpick, but I really like doing that.
I would have used the pistol more, I think, if right click was like iron sights instead of just another button mapped to jump.
Was yours mapped to jump? Mine was mapped to reload.
Reload would have been nice. No, mine was jump for some reason.
Strange. Weird, because I didn't even... Did you fuck with the controls? Because I didn't.
No, I used whatever my default settings were.
That's weird.
The only thing I could think is my install wasn't a Steam one, so maybe...
That's possible.
The default configuration may have just been slightly different.
That's a good possibility. One thing that this game brought up is a question that I have about games that are good at scaring you, or is the game just good at startling you? I think this game had more scares than startles, whereas some other horror games really rely on jump scares, and that's my big thing is jump scares. I fucking hate them. Like, I think they're cheap. They're effective at times, but like one or two of them's all right. Like, for example, in Doom 3, I'm roaming through, and I think you had this same experience where like you're roaming through and you open a random door, and right behind the door coming at you immediately is an enemy. That's startling, but they didn't overuse that. Where some games I feel like every 10 to 15 minutes you're getting hit with a jump scare, and I don't find that scary. I find that startling, and I think that that's not what I'm looking for. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and I do think that there were some jump scares to this game, but I think the goal it was going for was atmosphere more than anything else. Like, it kind of was, it wasn't going for startling, it was going for like dread, I think is the word to describe the feeling it was shooting for.
Yeah, I did watch, just not to skip ahead too much, but I did watch the end on YouTube because I wanted to see how it wrapped up. And
Yeah.
it was the Resurrection of Evil ending that I watched, I think.
Oh, well, I didn't do Resident. I only did the base campaign.
Okay.
I didn't play the expansion Resident.
So the base campaign ended with like the guys coming in to save Homeboy, and the way that the place looked, I was like, holy shit! Like when they do that final cutscene, it looks way worse than what it was when you were walking around. Like somebody came in before they got there and just threw blood everywhere, because there wasn't that much blood when you were running around, unless it's supposed to represent.
Oh, you haven't got to Delta Labs yet. It does eventually get really gory in the actual facilities.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, yeah, in the areas that I were at, I was like, oh, man, it wasn't that bloody. I appreciated it, though. I wondered...
Yeah, because it did a lot of, like, things that actually were good at hinting you along, as well as, like, you could often see, like, in the earlier areas, like, where there was clearly something killed here and then dragged, because there were just streaks of blood pulled in one direction, and that's often where you needed to follow
or
along.
A body would just float into the air and then fly off in a direction down a hallway, and you're like, oh, well, I guess I should follow that creepy-ass thing.
Yeah, it didn't... I mean, I guess supernatural is a weird use to describe things that's, like, kind of literally about hell and demons and all that, but I don't think it went so hard on the supernatural, like the telekinetic floating type stuff for the most part. So when it did, I thought it was kind of cool and effective.
Agreed.
Like, there were tricks that it leaned on too hard, and I'll get to that later, especially when we talk about in-game combat. But I think occasionally it just slowed down and let you get a weird moment that I really thought worked.
Yeah, for sure. I know it feels like I'm throwing out a lot of negatives. Like, I do have positives about this game, but I'm trying to get my negatives out of the way. I didn't like that the flashlight was off-center. That bugged the shit out of me. I think that fucked with my eyes a little bit. It might have been part of the reason I got a headache. As stupid as that may sound, because it's like you're holding your gun like you would like a first-person shooter, and then your light is on your left shoulder, so it's shining just to the left of whatever you're aiming at to try to shoot, and that bugged the fuck out of me. Like I would have liked it to at least like turned slightly so it was shining at your crosshair, but that might have worked if you could pull your pistol up and look down your sights. But this was just like if you were just wandering around hip firing. And I don't know. I didn't like that.
It did seem a little hard to draw a bead sometime, and the off-center flashlight is one of the BFG edition changes. In the original game, you only had a handheld flashlight, so you couldn't simultaneously wield a weapon and see things.
Which I think probably added to the scariness of the game.
Yeah, I think a lot of the encounters were designed with that in mind. You could definitely see some that did not work. The introduction of the cherub monster, for instance, clearly was not designed for you to be able to shoot and flashlight at the same time.
Yeah, because that thing roams around like you gotta fire into the darkness, try to find it. You know what I mean?
And you could barely tell what it is when, like, in the complete darkness, like, because the area it comes in is like this really narrow, short, small tunnel, and it's a tiny monster that makes baby sounds and kind of has baby-like proportions, and it's like, what is this thing? But you could shine your flashlight on it in the BFG edition and kind of figure out it's a creepy baby bug thing.
One of the changes in Doom BFG that stuck out to me was a lot of the enemy encounters in the original Doom 3 and Resurrection of Evil got cut in the BFG edition. For example, the encounter with the hellish version of bony zombies in Hell.
Yeah, I don't think there were any. There were either none or almost no zombie monsters in Hell in BFG edition.
So it's just very strange to me that they would cut content out of an enhanced version, unless they just thought it was bloated.
Yeah, I mean, they did some balance-related passes. They added a lot of additional ammunition to the BFG edition. I felt like in the early game, one of the survival horror elements was that you didn't have a lot of ammo at all. Like, I felt very pressed for ammo early on. But by the time you have the machine gun and another rapid-fire gun, like the chain gun or the plasma, I felt like I could always safely pick one of those, move to the other if I was low, and shotgun stuff if I got close. So I was less worried about it. It seemed like it kept me pretty full of ammo.
You want to go ahead and talk about the shotgun?
Man, at first I loathed that shotgun because it is the most spready shotgun I've ever had in a video game. Like, if you stand literally a human body's distance away from an imp and try to shoot it with a shotgun, it takes 3 hits to kill it, whereas if you're point blank at its chest, it almost always goes down in 1.
Yeah. Which to me is odd.
And like, yeah, it was way too much. But I know that it's supposed to be that kind of shot that scatters or whatever, but there cannot possibly be that much scatter.
Yeah, and then the fact that like it pretty much required you to be within melee range to do anything. Like,
Yeah, I absolutely viewed the shotgun as a melee weapon in this game. I basically thought of it as like, I was using it the same way I would use glory kills in Doom 4. I wanted to get close, get the thing dead, and then save, well, not gain back ammo, but save ammo for my rapid fire weapons.
now, how did you think about the enemy variety? I know you obviously saw way more enemies than I did. I'll say in the beginning, one of my notes is that the very beginning of this game is super fucking repetitive.
I would go ahead and say that repetition becomes one of the biggest problems with the game. Like, it does develop some new tricks when you get to around Delta Labs, and then it repeats the shit out of those tricks.
Yeah, it's...
Like, there are encounters where the first time it happens, you're like, oh shit! After a few times it happens, you're like, that again? And eventually it goes to being, like, irritating and even comical. When, for the third time in a row, it puts, like, a Revenant in front of you, you shoot it a few times, and then an imp teleports in behind you while you're not looking at it. Like, you're like, okay, you've done that. You've done that to me, like, 7 times. I'm over it.
Not only that, it's like, move to a new area. Find locked door. Find PDA that opens door. Open door. Find exit. God. And then later on, it's like, okay, find PDA that opens door. Now, find key card.
Yeah.
Move this fucking crane. This slow-ass crane that you can't see while you're trying to move it because you have to aim at the screen. God. And while you're aiming at the screen, you're not looking up to see where the crane is going.
Hey, I'm going to be honest, that isn't the only crane puzzle in the game.
Oh my god.
It is the only one that feels like it's supposed to be an arcade crane game, though.
It was like, I think you had to move to, I think 2 of the barrels had like some contamination coming out.
Toxic ventilation or something in the room, and you had to just pick up 2 barrels and put them in an incinerator, and it was the most video game, mini game, pointless thing. And that's one of the biggest problems I have with the flow of the game, is it kept interrupting itself. Like, anytime the combat starts to feel good and you get really into it, it's like, here's a bunch of PDAs, you need to listen to the voicemail in case there's a walker passcode, you need to read all the emails, try to get some of this lore, and the game loves to ladle the lore out in PDA format. It's Doom. Everyone knows the plot to Doom is that they dug too deep in a science experiment and they basically started interfering in hell, and then they decided they'd turn a profit off of it. In every other Doom game, that's in the goddamn instruction manual. You know what's happening before you even get started. This game, they act like it's a surprise for hours and hours.
In fairness, I'll say that this was considered a reboot, so maybe they were hoping to pull in some new people who might not know that. But, again, it didn't have to
But if you were to describe what Doom was to someone, like, that's the essential plot to the game. And it's a 2-sentence plot.
Oh, no, that's what I think they put in way too many of those PDAs and stuff like that. Like, I appreciated the ones that I picked up that said no audio log data.
Same. I was like, thank you.
All right, game. This is literally just here for me to open a door with, or not. Sometimes you would just find some, and they were fucking just because.
I would say some of the PDAs were, I would say about 1 in 10 of the PDAs had, or 1 of the 10 in the messages on the PDAs was either amusing in some way or offered a background detail that I actually thought helped flesh out the universe. One of my favorite ones was when they were describing, like, before everything really went to hell, all the power fluctuations, and they had, like, talked about a machine that had gone into lockdown, that they'd unplugged it, they had the safety key out, but one of those power waves from, the hell energy or whatever went through it and mangled a maintenance worker's arm. And, like, it was described in a really graphic and interesting way that actually was a kind of cool little short horror story. But most of the time it was just like, I'm getting pretty suspicious about that there Dr. Bergtruger. I don't know if the guy whose name is German for liar might be a bad guy.
Nine.
Nines of us.
Oh, man. Yeah, it had a lot of potential. It has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
One thing that I brought up in the chat, talking with you and Nate about this, was like, I feel like this game could have been really fucking good had it not been a Doom game. And
yeah, this is funny. You sent that message in the chat. I had independently said something very similar but slightly different to Nate in a private message.
It's just like, I think it would just have, I think the way you said it to me after I said that was like, or even a Doom spinoff, had they not put Doom 3 on it.
Yeah.
Like, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, hold me.
What I thought was, if this game had been a game that had been made by an independent developer, was not named after Doom, was a survival horror game that like had a lot of influences and references to Doom, so it was like obviously inspired by without calling itself Doom, and it did either more with the survival horror elements or more with the action elements. I think you have the potential for like a really good game here.
Yeah. Like, you know, they called the DLC or the expansion or whatever Resurrection of Evil. They could have called it like Resurrection of Evil, a Doom Tale, or like something that would have put it in that storied universe, but didn't give people the expectation of like, oh fuck, it's another Doom game, you know, like.
Because it had been 10 years since Doom 2 at this point. None of the main guys that, well, I won't say none of them, that's not true, but you know, John Romero wasn't still working there. They had a lot of the people that were technical workers and artists that were still there, but like it had been 10 years since they'd worked on Doom. They'd done Quake for several years, and then you know, other projects, and then this was their grand return. And this was also an engine. It was called the idTech 4 engine, I want to say. And they wanted to license this engine out to other developers. They wanted it to compete with the Unreal Engine. So, like, this was the big showcase game that they were trying to sell their game engine on, in addition to selling this game. So they wanted to make it all the bells and whistles. They wanted this game to blow up everyone. And it did. It won, like, Best in Show at E3 when they, like, previewed it. Like, they were really impressing people with the technical aspects of the game. It's just, you know, I think the gameplay has problems that suffer because the game has an identity crisis.
Now, when I played it in its time, back in 2005, 2006, whatever, on Xbox, bro, this was a good looking game, and it scared the fuck out of me when I was a kid. Like, it did its job, but I think I had a lot more time back then to get lost and things like that. Because that's one thing about it too, is that anybody who's a fan of this game, I actually do love this game, and I think that's why I'm able to shit on it. Like, I love the original, at least. BFG. I'll fuck with the field of view. Me and you talked about that. The field of view was weird, and that might have been what was giving me the headache. But it's not signposted well. I found myself getting lost a lot, and I'd end up having to look at a guide, and it's like, oh, I missed this fucking ladder that's tucked away in this tight little corner that you have to go up, and I never would have seen that shit. Yeah,
actually, I had to look up a couple ladders myself. I definitely remember there was one relatively early on where an imp blew off a wall to attack you, and then behind the wall he blew off, there was a ladder you had to turn and face. And I actually backtracked real hard before I came back to that. And
that's the spot that made me quit the first night I was playing. I got all the way there.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
And for one, I didn't realize, like, I walked over to this computer after I had been looking around for like 45 fucking minutes. And I saw where it was like the screen, I could click the screen, and it said like save backup data or something like that. And I was like, all right, so I clicked that, and it does its thing, and then the screen goes black, then the wall blows out behind me, and there's that fucking imp. So I killed it, and then I'm like, all right, did something happen? So then I went and backtracked all again, spent another 30 minutes looking around, and finally said, fuck this, and I started, and the next day I just looked at a guide and was like, you've got to be kidding me. There's a ladder right in that room where he blew the door off of, and it's like, I never would have thought to look there, because there's never anything in those rooms when they do that.
Yeah, like you would expect there to be like a fuel cell. You're looking at the ground, you're not looking at the wall. Like there were like 3, well, not fuel cell, this was Doom 3. So you're expecting like, you know, some ammo or like a medikit or something. And you wouldn't be looking at the wall trying to find the next progress place for a monster closet. And there were like 3 ladders in the game that I just completely didn't see.
Yeah, I just feel like it could have been signposted a little better. Like we did talk about...
And I feel like a lot of the hallway areas, like there's a lot of places that are office and corridor and lobby and office and lobby and office and corridor and office and corridor and lobby and office and office and corridor.
It's all very cramped.
Storage area.
Very cramped. There were certain times where I was going through... I have this weird thing where like even when I'm playing a game and I'm underwater, like I feel like it's weird to breathe because I feel like I should be holding my breath because I'm underwater. And I had that same feeling when I was walking through these tight fucking corridors. So I don't know if maybe I've got claustrophobia and I just don't know it. But it was the game felt too condensed for me. Although I know that you were making your way around labs and hallways and corridors, like you said, never-ending fucking corridors. But
I mean, it would have helped if the facilities were changed up a bit more early on, because like the first entire half of the game takes place in various science labs and offices.
They all look the same,
which makes sense. But they're very, very, like, eventually when you get to the Delta Labs, you start getting some more, like, weird fleshy growths on the wall.
Yeah, that was cool.
Like the walls start being, and monsters, you start to see stuff like stuff written on the walls in blood and just blood soaked areas, and then it gets to be more corrupt over the course of it, and then finally you get close to the hell portal, and everything is a lot freakier at that area. Like the atmosphere really cranks up at that point, but it's been so long trying to earn that I think you could have cut about half of the game before you get to hell. Like maybe 15 minutes of the first 2 hours should have been in this game.
Yeah, for sure. And dude, the one point that I got to where I was like, all right, I'm done. Did they have to put in demon mutant spiders? Like, was that necessary? I fucking hate spiders, bro. Like, I really do. I do not like them. And when it was like they just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming and kept coming, I was like, oh my god. Why is spiders a thing in every video game? I don't understand. It's like...
It's a The Thing reference. They even had the same kind of angular legs that the Thing spider had in The Thing.
I guess that's fair.
And the head even kind of turns upside down sometimes when they attack. Like, I guarantee that was just an homage to The Thing.
Me out. Well, it did its job.
I mean, at least it was a popcorn enemy. Like, that was like, you basically shot it 3 times and it was busted. But it was a nasty little thing, and he'd come out from vents and through the walls sometimes, and that was pretty successfully creepy. I thought some of the new monsters they added to the game that weren't just Doom 1, Doom 2 monster reskins, I think some of those were pretty good. I really hated what they did with some of the old Doom monsters.
Please.
Imps and Hell Knights looked great. Cacodemons, they kept the floating orb part, but not the big giant eye, and it's like, it almost seemed like a lot of this game, the aesthetic of it, the Lost Souls too, instead of a flaming skull, it's a flaming disembodied zombie head. And it's like, I felt like a lot of this game felt like when they were making it, they're like, well, it's 2004 now. It's not 1994. People don't want to see stuff that looks like 1990s metal album covers and 1980s horror movies anymore. That stuff is old and passé and kind of lame. We're making it for today. And it has a very big, we made it for today in 2004. Yeah. Now this shit's passé, and the stuff you should have been doing would have ruled.
It would have aged way better.
There's a lot of flavor of the week feeling effects that remind me of like the kind of horror movies, like all the very sallow, like all the monsters have very sallow skin no matter what. Like the Imp and the Archvile have the exact same body texture. It's actually kind of hard to tell them apart at first until they start to attack.
You know what cracks me up with some games, and this is kind of off topic but kind of on topic, is that like some games do stuff like that where they're like, man, all that stuff is passé. We're going to do this new, cool, type thing. And then 10 years later, no one's fucking talking about whatever that game was, but they're still talking about the shit that was quote unquote passé. You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
Wild to me.
I think that's one of the strengths of Doom 2016, Doom 4, compared to this game, Doom 3, is this Doom 3 felt like it wanted to modernize and reboot Doom for a new audience. Doom 2016 was like, hey, y'all remember how much fun Doom was? What if we use today's technology to make that same kind of fun? Like, let's keep it moving forward, dodge and punch and fighting the monsters, but also, now we have all these new technologies. We can have, like, cool splattery, fatality attacks that don't take a big cutscene. They just take a moment to play, and, we can have bright graphics, and then we can still have moody, scary architecture.
And see, I think that the people who loved Doom probably played this and was like, it has potential, and it became that, right? The Doom 2016, what Doom should have been all along. Well, you know what I mean, the Doom reboot at least. I also think that somebody played Doom 3 and went, this could be a really cool game, I know how to do it, and then they went and made Dead Space. Because Dead Space does the whole, you're in space, but it doesn't do the hell thing, obviously, but like the survival horror in space thing, and it's definitely, it's a very cool concept.
So it's System Shock.
Yeah, exactly, like System Shock, which apparently there's a third System Shock in the works.
I'll believe it when I see it, but apparently, I mean, this game also clearly takes nods from System Shock too. I mean, a lot of the horror in space does. I think System Shock came out before 2004, right?
Yeah, the first System Shock was 90s.
I was gonna say that game's way too janky to be any later than it was.
First one's early 90s, not early 90s, but I think mid 90s, if I remember right.
Yeah, I mean that sounds about right.
Those are 2 games that I own and I need to play, but I've never played them. System Shock.
I mean, speaking of comparisons of Doom 3 and Doom 4, one thing that both of those games do that I thought was kind of corny and cheesy in both of them is both of the games involve you pursuing someone, right? And every so often in both games, you'll walk through a door and you'll see like a glass window that you can't get through, and you'll see that guy just zooming away, looking at you and whatever, and then leaving like, oh, you can't catch me. I feel like that is so corny, you know? Like they keep repeating it in both games.
Yeah, kind of.
Like Olivia Pierce kept doing that in Doom 4, and everyone that you're chasing down. The Team Bravo kind of does that. The lawyer guy and his bodyguard do that. I think towards the end of the game, Petruger starts doing that. Although he also like telepathically taunts you because he's become demonic at that point, and that kind of actually does work. Oh man! On the topic of mid 2000s, the 00s in general, did anyone make a video game with good boss fights in that time period? Because I feel like every boss fight in the 00s was the most obligatory bullshit, and this game was no exception. Like, you fought the spider boss?
No. I know. I was on my way to that, though, because that was the area. There were spider webs everywhere where I was going.
Okay. Almost all the bosses of this game are that exact same video game boss, where it's like, you have to do something 3 times so you can attack the enemy, and then you have to attack it 3 times, repeat that pattern 3 times so you can destroy it. And like, every boss except the spider boss was like that. The spider boss was just lame. But like, you made 4 boss fights, and all of them are pretty much just like stuff we haven't really iterated on since Sonic the Hedgehog.
Now, are we talking strictly not RPG games? Because I like the boss fights in...
No, those have their own tricks. I appreciate a good RPG boss. And yeah, there are cliches in RPG boss. You got to have the 2 orbs that follow the heavy boss, where one of them casts Reflect and one of them casts, buff spells or whatever.
Yeah, because my argument was going to be Final Fantasy X. But yeah, you're right. That's different.
Yeah, sure. 10 had some really memorable boss fights. I remember getting wrecked by Unalesca really hard.
Yeah, dude. I remember the first time I tried to get the Magus Sisters. Whoo!
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And the entire arena, which was basically post-game super bosses. Like, all that was really cool.
Speaking of super bosses, I know this is random. We've talked about this probably, but the super boss in 15, right?
No. I don't really know anything about 15 except for that it's the road trip in a car game that I want to play.
Well, this isn't too much of a spoiler because you can't do this till way, way late in the game. And I won't tell you where it's at. But there's a certain mountain that ends up standing up. And it's a giant adamantoise. It's the size of a fucking mountain. And you have to fight it. And it's got some ridiculous amount of health. It takes hours to beat it. But I always thought that was cool. That like you're just driving and all of a sudden this mountain that you guys are looking at just gets up. You're like, oh fuck.
Damn. That's intense.
But yeah, back to Doom. Some of the changes that between BFG and the regular one that I thought was interesting. Obviously, they made it compatible with Vista and 7. That was the big thing. Added Steam achievements, added achievements for 360 and PlayStation 3. They removed EAX enhanced sound quality, which I don't know what that is, but it seems weird that they would remove sound quality stuff.
It sounds like that is like one of those 3D binaural simulation sound things, but honestly, I thought the sound was good in this game, and I never really had any issue telling if something was supposed to be behind me or in front of me, for instance. Maybe because I've been playing Doom so long, I kind of instinctively strafe run, so if I put my left in my back to one side and my right to my front to the other, and I hear something to my left, I'm like, oh, that's behind me, okay.
That makes sense. They removed advanced keyboard function mapping.
I didn't do any keyboard function mapping whatsoever. I don't know what the advanced functions
we didn't have them, so it doesn't matter.
I just used WASD and the number keys and my clicker and the Q for the cube and the R for the reload and the E for the doors and spacebar to jump.
They improved the performance, constant 120 hertz, minor graphical.
Okay. I didn't have any performance issues whatsoever, but I shouldn't for a game that's from 2004.
Yeah, it ran well. It did. Improved texture resolutions, the shoulder-mounted flashlight, improved lighting effects. The light from the flashlight and enemy projectiles can now project shadows. Your muzzle flash no longer creates a light source, because that was one of the things you could do in Doom 3, the original, was fire your pistol and you could kind of see for split seconds.
So that's a change that actually makes it less like Doom, because that was absolutely a strategy in classic Doom in really dark areas.
Let's see. The HUD crosshair replaced with a laser sight when playing in 3D mode, which we didn't play in 3D mode because we don't have 3D TVs. Checkpoint saving was added.
Oh, so there weren't automated checkpoint saves in the first game? This game tended to save really, like, right before huge moments for the most part. Like, I'd say each level had at most, like, 3 checkpoints. It was all manual save and save from that.
PDAs had a new layout for widescreen display. ID Tech 4 engine was updated with improvements from ID Tech 5. It was compatible with existing texture and sound Doom 3 mods, which I found interesting, like that they were able to do that.
That's actually kind of cool. Yeah.
Easy difficulty made easier by providing more health, armor, and ammo. They simplified the menus. They narrowed the field of view, which I don't get.
I think maybe because they thought some of the changes they made, like the shoulder-mounted flashlight and adding more ammunition, maybe they thought that made it less horror-y, so they made the field of view 80 instead of 90 by default. But I feel like if you're trying to add more widescreen support, like, you want more field of view, and I think that's one of the reasons you were so dizzy, is 80 is a weird field of view to use on a widescreen monitor. Like that, it feels super awkward. Like that makes me think of like default Minecraft settings.
They made cutscenes unskippable.
What? Why? Why?
I don't know. That's such a strange change.
They did do that. They did do that though, because the only time I actually died in combat, other than falling off of stuff, was to the final boss, and I sure had to watch myself walk out from underneath the final boss about 6 times because I got stepped on him. He wasn't hard. I'm just dumb and got too close.
The arcade games Sarge's Big Game Hunt and Martian Buddy Blaster in Resurrection of Evil are replaced with Super Turbo Turkey Puncher 3. Did you?
Oh, you can actually play Super Turbo. Super Turbo.
I was going to ask you, did you play it? Because I did. Yeah.
I didn't know that all the machines I saw were broken or something. There must have been a playable one.
In the very beginning, when you're walking around, I wandered into the little kitchen area and there was one working, and you literally just walk up and aim at it, and your cursor goes to it, and you just click, and a fist punches a turkey, and you get points for it.
I've seen screenshots of it, and it looks like it's literally, except for the turkey, like all the other graphics are made from Doom 2 and Doom 1 sprites, which I think is kind of amusing. Like it's the classic fist and all that, which is
the secret BFG 9000 tied to the Martian Buddy Blaster game was removed because obviously that game was removed. So
okay. That's a Resurrection of Evil thing, so I guess I never would have seen that.
Let's see. Oh, the other changes were made to Doom 1 and 2.
Okay, so one of the things about the BFG edition was it came packaged with re-released versions of Doom 1 and 2 made by Nerve Software. I know that, and I do know they had to make some changes because, it'd been... I didn't realize this game came out in 2012, the BFG edition. I thought it was closer to the original release.
No, it was way later.
So... yeah, it would have been about 18 years after Doom. I guess this would have been like in the lead up to Doom 4, trying to build, hype for that.
So it included No Rest for the Living, which you said is a mod pack, right?
No Rest for the Living is 9 levels for Doom 2, made by 2 employees of NerveSoft. They are a little bit more challenging. Well, if you play for all the secrets, considerably more challenging than the default Doom 2 levels. They use nothing but stock Doom 2 textures, and sadly music. They repeat a lot of the music, which I didn't think was that great, but the level layouts were really good. I liked a lot of it. I had a good time with it. I've played it before. It's nice.
They added Steam achievements for the original games. They it runs at 1080p now. I'm sorry, that's on consoles. It runs at 1080p. On desktop resolution on PC with minor graphical improvements. More responsive mouse and keyboard controls. Improved and smoother animations at 120 hertz. Improved weapon sound quality and MIDI music quality.
I thought I did really briefly toy with the BFG edition, just the Doom 2, just to click on it and say I did before I went back to playing the actual source port I usually use. And I actually thought that the MIDI sounded a good bit better than the default Microsoft MIDI table that a lot of ports use. However, it also sounded like it used like pitch randomizing for monster sounds. So if you shot Nib a whole bunch of times, it would be like, in Classic Doom, it's always the same levels. Oh. But in this one, it was like, oh. Like, it was a little too jumpy. This is a super, super finicky, I've been playing Doom for way too long type of complaint, though.
Apparently, the International Red Cross had been complaining about what they regarded as abuse of the symbol. So, the Red Cross was removed from med packs and berserkers packs. in those games.
Yeah, they've replaced it with this little pill that looks like a Dr. Mario symbol, and I think that was a bad change. In later versions of the Unity port, they replaced it with a green medical cross symbol, which doesn't infringe the Geneva Convention rights to the medic sign, but it still obviously looks like a health pickup. So I think that was the right play. The pill just seems like a weird compromise.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of strange. They also removed all of the Nazi references, including the Hakenkreuz, Hitler's portrait, furniture, and textures, in order to make the game legal in Germany. The Wolfenstein Map 31 and Map Grosse have been renamed to IDKFA and Keen, respectively.
Okay.
And then they changed a bunch of stuff for those just to make them different.
I'm going to guess that they replaced all the Schutzstaffel guards with just like regular zombie men or chain gun guys.
It doesn't go into that specifically, but it just says it changed the unit IDs, changed the textures, and changed the music in those maps.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they would have had to change the music because it was based on the Wolfenstein music, which, yeah, it was based on like, had kind of like War March type theme to it.
Oh, here's something at the very end that I think will be interesting to you, sir. The .wad files for BFG editions of Doom and Doom 2 do work with ports like Xandrinum and Z-Daemon, as well as Doomsday and Z-Doom.
Yeah, I personally stick with the old 1.9 Ultimate Doom and Doom 2 and Final Doom ones I had from a CD-ROM I got forever ago. But like, if you wanted to, you could absolutely play the BFG versions of them. In fact, you can also use like No Rest for the Living. It's a file in there called nerve.wad. You can just pull that out and play it in whatever source port you like. And I don't like that's how I got around to it originally. And it's a good set of levels. I liked it.
Huh. Well, that's what's up. What else would you like to touch on about Doom 3, my good sir? Is there anything else?
Maybe some Easter eggs and references to earlier games.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of neat. There were some like cool callbacks. Like you mentioned that the Turkey Puncher game and how it had the graphics that were based on Ultimate Doom graphics, although it also had like the arcade thing is supposed to make it look like a Street Fighter Alpha 3 machine, which I thought was really cute. Yeah, and there's like magazines scattered all around the place, and like one of them has like a cover image that looks like the Doom status guy, like the Doom guy's face when he's like hit for heavy damage in classic Doom, like making that like whoa face. And another ones I thought was like subtle, like this is like just a shout out for I guess either really like old school people that know way too much about the game, or maybe it was a shout out because the guy's sister was still working for the company. But one of the scientists you meet, the one who turns into a lost soul the first time you find a lost soul, when she drops her PDA and whatever, her name was Teresa Chazar, which was the name of she and her brother made episode 4 map 5 of the original Ultimate Doom, They Will Repent. And she was the one that did the layout, and then he did like the monster placement and the texturing and stuff. So like, I don't know, man. That's such an obscure, like, she was one half of the people that made one level in the commercial re-release of the original Doom. Like, that's a deep cut,
very deep
cut.
Very. I would have never known that.
If it weren't for the fact that I like to yell at the mapper sometimes when I play classic Doom, I'm like, oh, Sandy Peterson, this level sure is a pain. So that's why I know most of the mappers and what maps they made, and the fact that this one was made by two people and that they were a brother and sister team always stuck out to me.
Hell yeah. Is there any other Easter eggs that stuck out? I didn't notice any personally, but I didn't get very far, so.
No, I mean, that's the main... Oh, there's one other thing I really wanted to point out, which is... we've been bagging on the cramped layouts through most of the game. When you get to Hell, the architecture really... I guess you go to Hell, it's a Doom game. That's not a spoiler or whatever. Fuck off. When you get there, the text... like, everything becomes huge in scope. And there's, like, massive buildings. Everything's made of, like, bricks and bones and, like, lava and flesh, and sometimes there's like stones just floating over the void you have to move between and all that. Like, it's really imaginative. The landscape shifts a bunch on you. It's spooky and creepy, and I think was the section of the game that worked the best. And in that section, you no longer have a stamina cap. You can hit the sprint button all the time. You only get the weapons from the original Doom, which I think is wild. You only get the chainsaw, pistol, fist, shotgun, chain gun, but not the machine gun, rocket launcher, BFG, and plasma gun. So you don't have the machine gun, the soul cube. But you do get the soul. You get the soul cube at the end. And God, what was the other? There's another weapon that's unique to this game. I've already forgot. Oh, hand grenades. You don't get
Dude, the hand grenades, speaking of, they were fucking wonky. Like, you could throw those things, they would bounce all over the place.
Hard. I never knew how to predict what the trajectory of a hand grenade was. So, for most of the game's combat, my goal was just take the biggest rapid fire weapon I have that's not low on ammo, shoot it at everything unless it gets close to me, then switch to the shotgun and blast at that point. And like that works on every tier of enemy. Now, again, if you see like an Archvile or a Hell Knight, maybe you want to pull out the rocket launcher or BFG for those guys. But all the common enemies, there was no need to get any trickier than that. Like, even a Hell Knight could be brought down with one clip's worth of plasma ammo for the most part.
Yeah. What would be your rating for this game? I know you said that it would be very hard for you to pick a number. Did you ever come around to one?
Okay, so all this time I was vacillating between a lot of different numbers based on how much this game annoyed the shit out of me, especially repeating its tricks over and over and over again. Like, the parts I'm gushing about were really good. And if it was just either the best of the horror, the best of the landscape, a lot of the environments, especially later on, are really cool. The atmosphere when you get to the corrupted version of basically the Mars base after you've been through hell is ridiculously cool. It's like what the Shores of Hell from the original Doom should have looked like. And I'm saying that as someone who really liked the Shores of Hell in the original Doom. Like, that was really incredible. It's one of the things that justifies the reboot, remake type idea. But when you walk into a room and you don't see any monsters at first, and then you hear a little whisper in your ear, and the summoning, the monster whisper, always sounded to me like a little voice was saying, pistachios, which is not the scariest word I've ever heard. Yeah, I mean, it started to crack me up. I was like, oh, here come pistachios. Love it.
How do they know I have a nut allergy?
But, oh no. I can't handle these nuts, please, Mr.
No, not the nuts. Anything but the nuts.
But you'd walk into a room and you wouldn't see a monster for a moment. Then you'd hear like a zombie or something. You'd come after the zombie and you'd start shooting it. And you'd hear right behind you would be an imp teleport. And on the other side would be an imp teleported. And then maybe you would teleport in a bigger monster. And it was like the same thing. You're dealing with the same couple of monsters, the couple of patterns, usually small numbers in really similar looking areas. Like, the combat scenarios got really played out really early on. And all the cool jumping in just lost the scare, lost the anxiety. And it just started to irritate me. But I can't just judge this game on, do I like it as a Doom game? I have to judge it on, how did I feel about it as a game? And it's not the worst game I've ever finished for this podcast. That's for damn sure. Like, I don't think I can give it under a 5 because I didn't finish it out of spite. I finished it because I wanted to see what happened. And so there was a part of me that wanted to give it a 3.5 because there's a huge, oh, please element to some of what it does. Yeah. I think I'm going to give it a 5.5 with the understanding that I think there are 2 8 out of 10 games that are fighting to be the game that this game is, and both of them keep getting in each other's way like two people trying to walk through the same door at the same time.
I originally gave this game a 4, and then
I think that's
bumped it up
reasonable.
after considering it and like sitting back. I watched some videos on people who like were playing through, and like watching these little videos and stuff didn't give me a headache, so I got to see a little more of the game itself, and I bumped it up to a 5.5. So we agree.
I like it. I think that seems fair. I mean, I really think if you got to look at some of the like lab areas before and after you go to hell, especially like right before and after, like there was some really cool stuff that didn't look exactly the same as all the labs in the beginning of the game. The second half of the game really kicks the hell out.
I will say that I did watch the final battle of Resurrection of Evil, and you do get to kill that weird thing that they show at the cliffhanger ending of the original Doom 3. The scientist that you're looking for ends up turning into this big like demon dragon thing where his face is the thing's tongue, and it's very Doom looking. It's like a very evil looking enemy, and that's what you end up. That's the final boss of Resurrection of Evil. Okay, that
makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, I don't think it's too big of a spoiler for me to tell everybody that the final boss of regular Doom 3 and the BFG edition, the main campaign, is a cyber demon, and the only way you can defeat it, as is hinted to you for the entire last half of the game, is to use the alien artifact called the Soul Cube. So it's a neat weapon, actually. It feeds on the souls of enemies you killed, so if you can only use it after you've killed 5 enemies, and then you can throw it at anything, and whatever it hits, it'll one-shot anything up to a boss monster, and it fills your health back to 100 because you've sucked the soul out. But you have to do that like 5 times against a cyber demon because it's a video game boss. So, of course, you have to kill 5 enemies, then hit it with the thing and repeat 5 times because it's a video game boss. And I got stepped on a few times because it's in a big circular area, and I kind of tried to run right underneath it instead of just running around in circles over and over waiting for monsters to spawn.
Oh, man. But yeah, dude, I mean, honestly, if you like survival horror type stuff, I recommend it. Just don't go into it expecting it to be a balls-to-the-wall Doom game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a survival horror game with promise and problems, and it's a Doom game with promise and problems. I don't think it pulls off all of its promise, but when it's at its best doing either horror or action, I think it does both of those at its peak well, and I think that it's a visual treat, man. A lot of the graphical stuff, like the environments, especially, again, once stuff gets corrupted, you can tell that that's where a lot of the heart and soul went into making sure that the engine could render all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, sir, I think that's going to about wrap this one up. That means that next week will be our part 2 of Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, which I had the epiphany in our chat that Trails in the Sky, when you shorten it, is tits, and everyone loves tits. Oh, man, that cracked me up when I saw that. I was just like, oh, my God, you guys, it's tits.
I hate that we haven't done housekeeping yet, because I so wish we could have just gone to the end music on that.
Right. Oh, man. Well, the housekeeping, good call, because that is a good segue into we appreciate.
I mean, it could be worse. Sometimes we forget things. I don't think we gave a grade to one of the games we played over the last month.
That's a possibility. Did we grade Battle Chef Brigade? I don't remember. I don't think we did.
I think we missed grading Battle Chef Brigade. Yeah, I honestly think. No, Nate. I remember because Nate gave it he was the only guy to give it up. Less than 5.
Yeah, that's right.
It was the game before that. What did we do before Battle Chef?
Oh, that would have been.
Wait, I think we may have never put an actual number on Fallout.
That's a possibility.
No, that can't be.
You might be thinking we didn't do a rating at the end of the first Legend of Heroes episode because
that's not the one. It was all 3 of us for sure. Well, it doesn't matter. Illustrious listeners, listen to all of our podcasts again so we get more ad revenue that we don't get because we don't run any ads on our show.
Speaking of, since we don't run ads on the show, if you would like to head over to patreon.com/the Steam Machine Podcast, we would like any financial support that you would like to throw at us. It goes back into the show, or helps one of us pay bills. Just depends on the month. It means a lot, and we appreciate it. You can donate $1, and you get the episodes early. You get to hear our little bullshit Patreon talk before we start the episode. Usually, that's about wrestling or food or movies, comics, shows, just things that usually aren't video game related. But if you like to hear us banter, then that's more banter for your buck. Literally for your buck. And if you want your shout out by name, that is just a $10 donation per month, and you will get a shout out on every episode by name, like the ones that we named earlier, but I'm going to name them again just to prove the point. We have Nate, who I call Sir Cogsworth of the 7th of June Ipper. We have
Cog,
Old Jeffy Lube. We got Eraser Adam, and we have DC Smokedown. Yeah, I told you, man.
Thank y'all again.
I'm leaning
so
into
much.
that Eraser Adam thing. Like, I don't know why. I really don't know why I'm leaning into that so hard, but I am. So yeah, you can go to the patreon.com/Steam Machine Podcast. Toss us $1 and get your episodes ad free and early. Even though you can get them not early and they'll still be ad free. You know what I mean. Other than that, come join.
Hey, wait! Don't promise ad free episodes, because if someone comes up to us and asks us to sell out, I'm telling you yes.
Fucking listen, if you ever download a show and we're like, and this episode is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, like, do not be surprised, because I'll take that. Yeah, we'll take that money all day.
Don't say the brand name. Don't do it for free. You're giving the cow away.
Yeah, that's true. Everybody gets one. Was it Spider-Man? Everybody gets one.
That's right. Everybody gets one. That's right, Peter.
If you come join the Discord, you can chat with us about video games. We got the ever-growing community. It's really cool to see like new people pop in, or people who have joined and then they don't really talk much, but then they'll decide to pop up and chat every now and then.
I feel like it's been a good amount more active lately. It's been really nice.
I agree.
Like, there's been a pretty good amount of daily chat in there. It's not overwhelming to keep up with, but there's always something new going on.
It warms my heart to see conversation going on. Like when I wake up and I'm like, I didn't start this conversation. but people are talking. This is wonderful. You know what I mean? It's really cool. And if you want to join the Discord, you can do bit.ly/TSMP Discord, and that is all caps. Just TSMP Discord, all caps. And that will take you to a link where you can click that little linky link, and it'll bring you into the Discord, and you can then chat with us about video games, food, movies, whatever you want to do. You can also vote on what games are going to be coming up for the show. We do the vote thing, although I do want to start choosing some games here and there, because there are just certain games that I would like to play, and I'm sure you have certain games that you would like to play, which is why we do the once a month, one of us picks a game, if it lines up.
Oh, I should point out that Doom 3 was my pick for our interrupt, so that one was on me. So, that was my game. I picked it because I wanted to play Doom, and I wanted us to do a spooky game for Halloween. So next time I pick a game, we're going to play a good Doom game.
Well, there you go. Little foreshadowing there for you folks.
Well, I'm just saying it's still on the menu. It might not be Doom next time. There's actually something else I was almost picked for my game, so I'll probably do that next time.
Well, now I'm intrigued, but don't tell me. I want it to be a surprise.
All I can say is it is on the list.
Oh, that narrows it down. I mean, in the spectrum of things, it does, but when it comes to like the spectrum of the list, that narrows it none for me.
Yeah.
And if you want to come check out our website that I did a little ditty and made up, it's bit.ly/the Steam Machine Podcast. And the only thing with that link, because Bitly links are case sensitive, every word has a capital letter at the beginning. So
capital T,
capital
S.
T, capital S, capital M, capital P for the Steam Machine Podcast, and that'll take you to the website. The website's got links to like everything. But in case you don't feel like doing that, the only other link that I can think of that's on there that I haven't already told you about is the merch link, which is tsmpproductions.threadless.com. You can go get you a cool ass like Steam Machine Podcast shirt, rock the merch, rep your boys. That old chestnut.
Threadless is high quality, man.
Other than that, I got 2 recommendations for people. There's a podcast called Damn Chocobo that I love. It's a Final Fantasy game podcast. And if you think, like we go in depth when we're doing like 2, 3, 4 episodes on a game, these dudes, I think they did Final Fantasy 12 and they did like 9 episodes on it or something like that. Like they really get in depth into the games and the story and the lore and like the what you do and all that kind of stuff. It's a fun time. If you enjoy Final Fantasy games, I think you'll like it. Damn Chocobo. My other recommendation, they do not need my recommendation because they're a pretty big YouTube channel, but like I love GameSack is what they're called. And it used to be Joe and Dave. Now it's just Joe. Fantastic. I know, Willie, you and I have talked about how YouTubers can do skits and they get really annoying and they seem really self-serving. GameSacks is more like they do some skits, but they save them. They do them at the very end of the episode, so it's not like you have to watch through their skits if you don't want to watch them. But like they're usually 2 or 3 minutes, and they're funny. They have to do with whatever they just covered in the episode, and
that's important.
Like they did one for Halloween that was hilarious. It was like 5 minutes long, but you know what I mean. So it's never like a forced like Spoonie used to do, where it was like you're trying to watch this video about Ultima, but it's interspersed with this weird life role play fucking weird shit. It's nothing like that, you know what I mean? It's just a little quick thing at the end to make you laugh, and I really appreciate it. But their big thing that got me into them is they have these episodes on consoles where they'll cover, say, let's use for example the Super Nintendo. So Joe will go into the specs of the Super Nintendo and like how it worked, what different things they did on the inner workings of it, and like what made it run and why maybe it was more powerful than the Genesis or less powerful than the Genesis, yada, yada, yada. And then they'll go through the games and they'll show you the different games that they liked for it and everything. And then they do a little montage of games that they didn't cover. And I really like it. And they've got this collection of them that are like called Console Crunch, which is just a bunch of those episodes mashed into one long video. And they've got like 6 or 7 of those. So like, you can put them on and listen to them in the background. You don't necessarily have to watch. It's just informative. And I like learning. So it's just me. Also, their Left in Japan series, which is about games that never left Japan, that are really cool. So GameSack on YouTube and the podcast Damn Chocobo. Those are my recommendations for this week's episode. Do you have any recommendations or any sign off or anything like that?
Pad Thai, man. I wish I had some Pad Thai right now, so I'm just gonna recommend everyone go get some. We can all convene and talk about it at the end of the week if we all ate it. It's good. It's like a spicy. It can be spicy. You can get it non-spicy at most places, but it's Thai noodles and peanuts. Usually like a tofu or a meat.
Just got some tofu today.
Got a good taste.
Nice. Maybe I'll have to make some pad thai. That sounds good to me.
Hey, dude. Yes, please.
On that note, he's Willie. I'm Dalton. And as always, guys, trails in the sky is tits.